Hi, welcome to Missing Link Mathematics. We are a division of Apex Math. Today we are going to do a session on calculating slope. We will have a mini lesson and then practice problems as usual. So for calculating slope, let's first just briefly talk about what slope is. And remember, these are not meant to be all-inclusive lessons. They're more meant to focus on practicing. So slope is defined as rise over run, and it measures how steep your line is, and it is the change in this triangle means change in. It's the change in the y over the change in the x. So it's always the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. So if we have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, we are going to subtract the 2 points. That's what the difference means. It means this triangle means we're going to take the change or subtract, and the difference, we're going to always put the difference of the y's on top of a fraction and the difference of the x's on the bottom. So we're going to go through some basic steps and then be able to just calculate this slope value. So there's 3 things that need to be kept in mind when going through the steps. The first thing is you're going to ask yourself, are the x values the same? Are the x values of your 2 points the same? If the x values are the same, then you get to stop right there and go to a shortcut. If the answer is yes, then your slope is undefined. And you don't have to do anything else. You just write undefined and you're done. Or use it in the rest of your problem as an undefined slope. Number 2, are the y values the same? And if the answer to that question is yes, then the slope is equal to 0. And you're done. You don't have to do any math if your x values are the same number or if your y values are the same number. So the only time you have to do a mathematical calculation is when your x values differ and your y values differ. So we're going to look at step 3. So when I have different x values and different y values. So let's say I have something like 7, -3 and 4, 6. You can see here that 7 and 4 are different and -3 and 6 are different. So I do not have the same x's and I do not have the same y's. So they are both different. So then we're going to have to move on to step 3. And we'll put step 3 on the next page here. So let's erase what we have here and talk about what we do with step 3. Step 3 is how you set up this subtraction problem. So step 3 is subtraction. Subtract. And remember, when you subtract, you should have learned something called keep, change, change. And that's what we're going to use. Keep, change, change. That's to make sure that we don't mess up our negative signs. So we're going to write that down, those 2 points down again, 7, -3 and 4, 6. So this is our x1, y1, x2, y2 points. So we're going to go write them vertically, 7, -3 and 4, 6. Now we're going to be subtracting these 2 points. So I'm going to put a subtraction sign here. So keep, change, change means I'm going to keep the first 2 points exactly the same. And since I'm subtracting the second 2 points, I'm going to take that subtraction symbol, I'm going to turn it to a plus, and I'm going to take the 2 numbers on the bottom and I'm going to change them to their opposites. So keeping the tops the same, and we're going to change the subtraction to a plus, and the positive 4 is going to become a negative 4, and the positive 6 is going to become a negative 6. So we did keep, change, change. Now we add 7 plus a negative 4 equals a positive 3, and a negative 3 plus a negative 6 is equal to a negative 9. So that's all we do with step 3, is we set it up vertically and we do keep, change, change. Now step 4 is to do the ratio. Step 4 is to put the y value over the x value and reduce. So I'm going to take the y, which is the one on the right, this is my y, and I'm going to put it over my x. So I'm going to do negative 9 over 3 and reduce. That gives me negative 3. That is my slope. I am done. All right, so let's do another one or two, and then we will set problems up to be done. All right, let's go ahead and do this one here. 2, negative 4, comma, 7, negative 4. Remember, step 1 is to look to see if the x's are the same or the y's are the same, steps 1 and 2. And in this case, my x's are 2 and 7, they are not the same, but my y's are the same. So since my y's are the same, that's nice. I don't have to do any math, because when my y's are the same, remember, if I subtract two of the same numbers, I'm going to get 0. So, and remember, the y's are going to go on top. So to tell you why I get 0, I'm going to get 0 because when I subtract negative 4 minus itself, I get 0. The y's go on top, and I get some other number down here, which is why I don't have to bother doing it, because it doesn't matter, because 0 over any number is equal to 0, which is why I told you anytime that the y values are the same, I know I get 0. Similarly, if the x values are the same, I know when I subtract those two, I get a 0 in the denominator, and that means undefined, because I can never divide by 0. So for this particular problem, I don't even have to do step 3 because my y values are the same. I get 0 and I am done. All right, let's do another one. Let's do 8, comma, negative 3 and 10, comma, negative 4. All right, so my x's are not the same and my y's are not the same. So I'm going to set up my subtraction and get ready to do my keep, change, change. So here's my minus. Keep my first one. Change my minus to a plus. 10 was positive, it becomes a negative. My negative 4 becomes a positive 4, and now I add. 8 plus a negative 10 is a negative 2. Negative 3 plus a positive 4 is a positive 1. And now I put my y's, this is my y, and it goes over my x. So I'm going to do 1 over a minus 2. So that is my slope, negative 1/2. And I am done. All right, we are going to go ahead and assign problems for you to do. All right, so problem number 1 will be 2, 5, and 2, negative 3. Problem number 2 will be 6, negative 6, and 3, negative 3. Problem number 3 will be negative 6, comma 5, and negative 3, comma 2. Problem number 4 will be 7, comma negative 1, and 4, comma negative 8. And then our last problem will be 3, -4 and 5, 6. So if you haven't worked with our videos here before, what you do now is you pause the video and you get a sheet of paper and you work through these problems, and then you come back and you check your answers with us in a minute. So pause the video. All right, you should have come back now, and number 1, you should notice that the x values are the same. And we said when the x values are the same, then we end up with an undefined slope. So number 1 should be undefined. Number 2, we should have subtracted 6, -6, 3, -3, and you're going to do your keep, change, change. So this is going to become a negative, and this becomes a positive. And when you subtract, you get a 3 and a -3. You do the ratio of -3 over 3, and you get a -1 as your answer. I'll do one more that I do completely out, and then I'll just give the answers for the last 2. For number 3, we have a -6 and a 5 and a -3 and a 2. And again, we're going to do keep, change, change. So this is going to become a positive, and that's going to become a negative. When we add these 2 together, we get a -3. When we add these 2 together, we get a +3. We do the ratio. This is the y, so it's going to be 3 over -3. And we also get a -1 for this one. The answer for number 4 with your, this one doesn't come out to be as pretty. Your y's, when you subtract, you get a 7, and your x's, when you subtract, you get a 3. So you get 7 over 3. And then the last one, number 5, when you subtract, you get a -10 on top divided by a -2 on the bottom, which simplifies to be a +5. So if you got all these right, you're doing pretty well on being able to calculate slope given 2 points. Tune into our next video to continue to practice. We will work on finding writing equations of a line given a slope and a point, and then eventually given 2 points.